140 Ivory, page 44, chapter 5, Grandpa. Grandpa! George W. Walter, born 1863, passed on in 1956. He was the guiding inspiration in our young lives and made us what we are today. He was a church elder, jack of all trades, and a very generous, kind, and loving man of God. Many people asked his advice, and most took it. A few didn't, and always failed. He was 93 when he left us, leaving a good life and passing to a better one. However, the last dozen of his years were spent in the not-so-blissful company of his two wild great-grandsons. Listening to young boys fight, bicker, scream, punch, and bite their way to exhaustion truly prepared him to rest in peace. Our grandpa was good to us in so many ways, and we owe him a great debt of gratitude for taking us in. I had a wonderful, adventurous childhood because of this decent Christian man. Yet in my youth, I never once thought of thanking him. We loved that old man to pieces, and I believe he knew it, which is a great comfort to me. Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you so much. Moore's Hardware. One of my favorite memories is when I reminisce about our special visits to the huge hardware store in downtown Frewsburg, New York. How special could that be? Oh, very, very special indeed. The giant ancient building was a gathering place for all the menfolk in town. It was endless, dark, and mysterious, and was known simply to everyone as good old Moore's Hardware. One of the first buildings in the county, its history was rich and full. When first built, it served the loggers and many sawmills in the area. Then, as time passed, and the forest disappeared, farmers took the lumberman's place, and the business thrived. The old hardware was a wonderful destination for my brother and I, and a never-ending adventure for young boys to explore. My fond memories of its endless rooms and dark passageways remain with me to this day. It was a bit scary, yet strangely inviting as we passed through the big glass door. The little brass bell would ring announcing our arrival, and old Mr. Moore would greet Grandpa warmly, shaking his hand and inviting him to come sit by the big stove. My brother and I truly loved this special time in our young lives. Nearly every Saturday morning we would trek down the road into Frewsburg, New York, just to visit Moore's Hardware and greet all of Grandpa's friends. Of course, while there, we purchased whatever we needed for the farm. However, socializing was number one on Grandpa's list. Then sometimes Grandpa would buy nothing at all. He just yearned for the company of the other old men. So off we would go, down to the hardware store where Grandpa could visit, and we were free to wander to our heart's content. The massive dark rooms and the long, dim hallways were always scary and intimidating. Nevertheless, our curiosity always got the best of us, for there were things to see and treasures to be found. Like stocking-capped cats, we explored the old dusty building from top to bottom, never missing a thing and discovering something new every time. Talking floors. The old polished wooden floors actually talked at Moore's Hardware. Yes, they did. Sometimes they sang. They would greet you with a squeaky hello the moment you entered the door. Everywhere you wandered in those long halls, the floors would announce your passing. There were even stairs leading up to a carnivorous second floor. Constantly repaired over the years, they were unusually strong, and instead of squeaking, they would whimper and groan now and then. Then, when you returned to the main floor, the talking floors would once again begin their conversation. Yes, it was a magnificent old building, and today it would be considered a museum. Back then, it was just good old Moore's, where all the people met to buy supplies and hear the gossip of the town. On a treasure hunt, page 47. Denny and I loved to explore the endless, fascinating rooms at Moore's Hardware. Always finding something new, it was much like a treasure hunt without a map, although there were times we wished we had one. Let me take a moment and describe in detail what it was like in 1949 as we explored, Grandpa visited, and the big stove in the center of the store popped and crackled. Wisps of steam rise from our wool coats as we begin to wander the long, dark halls. We move deeper into the carnivorous building, and the sound of conversation drifts to us in bits and pieces. A ripple of laughter dances across the ceiling as we near the wood stove in the center of the store. Several farmers are gathered in a group discussing the coming maple season. Every now and then a dispute arises, only to be quelled by another sense of humor. They are a jovial bunch as they sip coffee, gently bicker, and pass the time of day. Being a small community, there are no strangers among them, and somehow they are all shirt-tail cousins in one way or another. Not a man there can deny he is somehow attached to the whole group by this cousin or that. The men warmly greet Grandpa and quickly engage him in conversation about the best time of the month to tap a sugar maple tree. Mr. Moore comes from behind the counter and tosses us boys each an apple. He seems to be the only one that notices we are there. He has always been a friend to us boys, and never forgets to remind Grandpa to stop at the candy jars before we leave. He is a short, stocky man with a gravelly, frog-like voice. He reminds me of Edward G. Robinson in the movies, except Mr. Moore is a good guy and doesn't rob banks. Mr. Moore runs a hardware store and gives away free apples. Denny and I carefully slip away from Grandpa and slowly begin to wander the halls of the old store. The pine-oiled floor beneath us is dark and scented with its own unusual smell. This odd fragrance is unique only to this old store. The bakery carries its own, the drugstore, grocery, and gas station all have their own peculiar scents. Yet no other store in town carries this mysterious mix of oil and cow manure driven into the flooring over decades of use. Yet, surprisingly, it is a very pleasant and manly smell. Perhaps the ladies would not agree, but to the men it truly means Moore's Hardware. Munching our tart apples, we pass among the aisles, wondering in awe at the many mysterious items piled high up on the shelves. Wide belts of big brass sleigh bells catch our eyes, but they are way too high to touch as we pass along. The dark, rough-cut board walls are covered with horse tack, black and brown harness, and horse collars of every size. Fat black stovepipes and elbows lean against the wall as we carefully inch around them. Tools of every kind set waiting in wide wooden bins as double-bitted axes, hammers, screwdrivers, and pliers lay in neat piles waiting to be put to work. Our eyes quickly dart about. We do not want to miss a thing. Whispering and pointing, we excitedly continue on our way. As we wander, we soon move into one of our favorite places. It is the hunting and fishing room. We stand in awe as we gaze at the endless rows of rifles, shotguns, and fishing poles. Spread out before us in a long glass case lay a dozen or more handguns of every size and caliber. Moving along with our noses and hands on the cool, slippery surface, we soon spy one of our favorite things, the display of bright and colorful fishing lures. Not exactly certain what each one's for, we let our imaginations spin. As we gaze at the bright colors and needle-sharp hooks, they are displayed in long rows like glittering soldiers on a battlefield. Then my brother and I begin an argument like so many countless others. "Boy, look at that real big one! I bet they use that to catch hammerhead sharks." "There are no hammerhead sharks for 1,000 miles around here." "Oh, what would you know? You don't know everything." "I know the only hammerhead around here is you." Nearing the back of the store, the air becomes cooler, and we wander among the bins, barrels, and boxes of crackers, potatoes, cheese, beans, sauerkraut, and tobacco. Smoked sausage, bologna, and fat hams hang from the rafters like meaty Christmas decorations. There are endless rows of canned peaches, pears, and tomatoes. We come upon a display case of tea and spices, some shipped all the way from England, China, and Cuba. Soon we grow weary of trying to read the labels and make our way back to the front of the store, for that is our very special favorite place. That is where the long row of glass candy jars set, waiting to tease sweet-toothed little boys. I follow closely behind as Denny gawks at the many kegs of nails, buckets of paint, and barrels of horseshoes along the walls. Continuing our journey to the candy counter, we soon catch the glitter of glass, and our expectations quickly begin to rise. Then, surprisingly, we come upon a display of lamp chimneys and dishware sparkling on the counter above. Slowing our pace, we begin to think we made a wrong turn, when suddenly, like a lighthouse, the top of a peppermint jar comes into view. We scurry to the high mahogany and glass display case, running our apple sticky fingers along its smooth, cool surface. Then we stand back as far as we can, taking a long and pleasurable inventory of the endless candy-filled jars. Gumballs, gumdrops, peanut this and chocolate-covered that greet our greedy eyes. There are cardboard displays of flavored wax mustaches and wax whistles that really blow a tune. More jars at the far end contain colorful wrapped candies of all sizes and description. Soon I find the treasure I'm looking for. Standing apart from the rest is a fat, filled to the brim jar of sugar-coated horehound candy. This special treat has an odd flavor, almost like medicine, and I really don't like it that much. However, Mom loves it, and my brother hates it, so that's the one I always choose. I can eat most of it, bribe Mom with a little, and never have to worry about Denny taking it from me. Suddenly we are shaken from our candy reverie, and the loud song of the big cash register rings up a sale, and we quickly turn to watch it work. I'm truly fascinated by the big ornate machine, and it is a true mystery to me. Its huge bulk stands high on the counter like a copper-plated angry bull. It is noisy, dangerous, and best of all, full of money. With just a push of a fingertip, the big machine comes to life, and I never tire of watching it work. Mr. Moore is cashing out a farmer in a sweat-stained hat, and I'm watching them like a hawk. I love to watch the big register grind and growl, and I excitedly wait for him to press the round, fat, black keys. Each time he does this, it makes the black and white numbers at the top snap to attention like little soldiers. Then he pushes a special one, and a fat red sale sign shoots up. As the bell rings, and the transaction is complete. Suddenly, on cue, the big wide drawer shoots open, and you can see all the money if you're tall enough. I'm not, but Grandpa held me up one time, and I saw it all. Soon our tour of the candy counter is over, and we wander back to stand beside Grandpa as he and another man enjoy a game of checkers. They're joking about Mr. Moore cutting a hole in the wall and letting the chickens lay their eggs right into the cooler. We patiently wait until the laughter dies down and finally get the reward we have been waiting for. Grandpa hands us both a shiny nickel, and we scramble back to the candy counter for our coveted treats. I had already made up my mind, but Denny took forever, as Mr. Moore patiently waited, seeming to enjoy the little drama before him. Then our choices are carefully measured on a fancy brass scale, and with a wink, the kind old man dribbles in a few more pieces for good measure. Handing us the fat little paper bags, he chuckles. Now try to make your best to make this last. I won't see you again till next Saturday. Saying goodbye to our precious nickels, we hug the white bags to our chest and run back to Grandpa's side. Soon our visit is over, and Grandpa walks us to the big front door as we all say goodbye to Mr. Moore. Passing out into the bright winter sunlight, the shiny old floor squeaks a final goodbye. What sort of candy did you choose? Grandpa asked me. Horehound, I chirped, just like always. That's my favorite kind, he answered. Really? I squeak. No, son, I'm only fooling, he chuckles. That candy tastes like medicine to me, and I don't care for it one bit. We trudge along as my smile begins to melt the ice of the sidewalk ahead of us.